Good morning, friends. Greetings and welcome to The Bright Side, your nutritional program dedicated to the understanding of the vast world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. I'm your host, Pharmacist Ben, nutritional pharmacist from Boulder, Colorado. I use nutritional supplements where other healthcare practitioners use toxic pharmaceutical drugs and sometimes deadly medical procedures. If you suspect that there are natural nutritional roads to your health and vitality and well-being and to addressing your health challenges, whatever they may be, but you don't know where to begin, you have come to the right place. As you listen to The Bright Side every day, you are more and more in control of your body. You are more and more knowledgeable, and you know you can overcome any health challenge. That's why we are here every day on The Bright Side, helping clear up the sometimes confusing world of nutrition and nutritional supplementation. Over the last 30 years of practicing pharmacy, I have seen drug-free recoveries from diabetes, hypertension, obesity, skin diseases like acne, psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, digestive ailments, autoimmune issues of all kinds. Recoveries that by the standards of modern medicine can only be called a miracle, but what is in the world of the body, what is in the world of biology, standard operating procedure. Because the human biological system is a healing system, a regenerating system. It is designed divinely to heal and renew itself on a moment-to-moment basis, and while some folks may call that a miracle, it really is just the way the body works. If you have questions about health or nutrition or prescription drugs, we want to hear from you. Welcome your calls on The Bright Side at 844-236-6010. That's 844-236-6010. If you have questions about formulations, ingredients, skin health issues, if you have a success story you'd like to share, or if you just want to contribute to the conversation, 844-236-6010 is our number on The Bright Side. If you want to purchase any of the longevity products you hear advertised or recommended on the program, please go to my blog, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. You can purchase products right off the website. You can also sign up to join the Brightside Ben team right off the website. You can also call 866-735-2470 if you'd like to talk to someone. 866-735-2470. That's the phone number for the Brightside Ben phone team. And if you would like to purchase any of our Truth Skin Health products, including our Truth 5% Retinol Gel, if you're dealing with acne blemishes or hyperpigmentation, dark spots, if you just want to prevent the formation or even reverse the formation of wrinkles or any of the other signs of accelerated aging, thinning skin, crepey skin, you want to use retinol, and you want to make sure you're using enough retinol, and that's why I developed my Truth 5% Retinol Gel. It's got the most retinol of any product you will ever find over the counter. I formulated it to be equipotent, to have the same potency as retinoic acid 0.05%. Of course, you don't get any of the preservatives or fragrances or fillers or waxes or emulsifiers or water or other useless ingredients that you get in other skin health products. You only get vitamin C and vitamin A and my transdermal delivery matrix, and that's it. Likewise with our Truth Serum, Truth Balm, and Truth Omega-6 Healing Cream, only active and functional ingredients, never any ingredients that your skin doesn't need or doesn't want. You can find out all about it at truthtreatments.com, truthtreatments.com. Okay. Continuing on with our PPD, youth and fertility hormones, whose levels are upregulated by good nutrition, by the mighty 90 essential nutrients, calorie restriction. Yes, calorie restriction upregulates youth and fertility hormones. How cool is that? All you got to do is stop eating, and your youth and fertility hormones go up. Even if you eat less, your youth and fertility hormones go up. Relaxation, of course, will stimulate youth and fertility hormones. Brief, intense exercise will also do it. The combination of brief, intense bursts of exercise in combination with long periods of rest and relaxation are a wonderful strategy for increasing, upregulating youth and fertility hormones. And the ketogenic diet. We have not forgotten to talk about the ketogenic diet. I will be addressing that. That's how we started this whole discussion several months ago about the PPD hormones, was we were talking about the ketogenic diet, and I'm not done talking about the ketogenic diet. Longevity's got a couple of new products out, Keto FX Bar, Keto FX Shake, which I got to talk about this past weekend in Boise, Idaho. Really cool town, by the way. I was surprised. Anyway, the ketogenic diet is a great way to upregulate your PPD hormones. There's a couple other things about the ketogenic, well, there's a few other things about the ketogenic diet that I'm going to be talking about as soon as we're done discussing DHEA here in the next day or two. Bottom line is, it wouldn't be incorrect to say that all of these strategies, calorie restriction, adequate nutrition, the Cron diet, that's calorie restriction, optimum nutrition, or the Cran diet, calorie restriction, adequate nutrition, relaxation, brief intense exercise, the ketogenic diet, it wouldn't be incorrect to say that all of these strategies, which we know are healthful, beneficial, anti-aging, longevity promoting, it wouldn't be incorrect to say that these strategies deliver their anti-aging benefits because they increase the levels of the PPD hormones. You also want to make sure that you're processing fats. Fats act as the raw material for the PPD hormones, which is why I'm probably preaching to the choir if you're listening to this program, but why anybody who thinks that a low-fat diet is a good thing doesn't understand biochemistry, particularly the biochemistry of the PPD hormones. The fats, saturated fat especially, acts as raw material, building blocks, basic ingredients for the manufacture of the PPD hormones. Of course, you got to make sure you're processing your fats. That means you got to make sure your liver is working correctly, the intestine, the gallbladder, the stomach, the pancreas. You're secreting enough pancreatic juices. You're making enough digestive enzymes. You can, of course, support all of this with apple cider vinegar and your ultimate enzymes from longevity. You can take extra pancreatic enzymes. You can get something called betaine HCl or pepsin HCl. You'll get that you'll get the betaine HCl in your ultimate enzymes from longevity. Probiotics are also important. Good bacteria for helping the body process fats. All the steroid hormones, whether we're talking testosterone or estrogen, the PPD hormones, or cortisol, they're all derived from fats. And those fats are derived from fats in food. As I say, particularly saturated fats. One of the most significant roles for these youth-promoting hormones, one of the most important benefits for people who are taking the youth-promoting hormones, whether you're taking them orally or whether you're using them topically, is balancing out or antagonizing the effects of cortisol, stress hormone. Cortisol secretion, excessive cortisol secretion, long-term chronic cortisol secretion, as in long-term chronic stress, whether that stress is emotional or mental. When we hear the word stress, I get the idea that most people think of emotional stress and mental stress. Those are certainly significant. No one is marginalizing or making psychological stress not important. However, it's also important, it's equally important to recognize that cortisol goes up when we're under physical stress, physiologic stress. When our blood sugar is messed up, cortisol secretion will go up. This is how the second point on the triangle of disease becomes the third point, or leads into the third point on the triangle of disease. The triangle of disease, the 3 points of disease that underlie every other health challenge, the digestive system, the blood sugar system, and the adrenal thyroid complex. These are the 3 points that break down in the body: digestion, blood sugar system, and the adrenal thyroid link. These 3 points underlie all health challenges. And point number 2, blood sugar, becomes point number 3, adrenal distress and hypothyroidism, because the stress system has to take over when we're not processing sugar correctly. Just like the blood sugar system has to take over when we're not getting enough energy from our foods. That's how point number 1 becomes point number 2. Point number 2 becomes point number 3 when the adrenal glands have to take over because we're hypoglycemic or we're hyperglycemic. We're going up and down in blood sugar. So cortisol, excessive secretion in cortisol, is linked to the first 2 points in the triangle of disease as much as it is linked to psychology and lousy thinking and lousy emotions. In any case, long-term excessive secretion of cortisol is associated with everything we hate about being alive. Anxiety, insomnia, lack of sexuality or lack of libido, weight gain, accelerated aging, thinning skin. Chronic cortisol secretion is also linked to the misery of autoimmune diseases. Autoimmune diseases affect 1 out of 12 or 1 out of 11 Americans. That's crazy, folks. How does 10% of a population, over 10% of a population, suffer from this absolutely awful and really bizarre health challenge of autoimmunity? I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll take a break and come back right after this. Don't go away. We are back on the bright side. Pharmacist Ben here. 844-236-6010 is our number. 844-236-6010. If you've got questions about the longevity products, the Truth Skin Health products, something you may have heard about or read about, formulations, ingredients, or if you just have a success story you'd like to share, or if you want to contribute to the conversation, 844-236-6010 is our number on the bright side. If you want to purchase any of our Truth Skin Health products, head over to truthtreatments.com. And if you're interested in purchasing any of the longevity products or joining the Bright Side Ben team, go to my blog at pharmacistben.com, criticalhealthnews.com, or brightsideben.com. Okay, so we're talking about cortisol and DHEA. DHEA balances out cortisol. Cortisol levels fluctuate. They can be either high or they can be low if you're dealing with an autoimmune disease. There's some interesting reasons for that. When the body is in duress, cortisol is one of the ways the body handles that duress, and autoimmunity is a major duress issue. On the other hand, sometimes autoimmune patients will be low cortisol. They'll be running out of cortisol. On the other hand, if you have a third hand, cortisol levels can go up when we become resistant to cortisol from long-term secretion. Without getting into the specifics, just think cortisol's messed up when you're dealing with an autoimmune disease. You could have low, it could be high. It's just messed up. This is where DHEA comes in. DHEA helps balance out cortisol secretion. Sometimes the doctor will prescribe cortisol as a drug. It's called prednisone. That's what prednisone is. Prednisone is stress hormone. You say, well, why is my doctor giving me stress hormone? Well, you need stress hormone. If you're low stress hormone, you're not going to be able to respond to stress. On the other hand, because cortisol has anti-inflammatory effects, using prednisone acts as a great anti-inflammatory. Doctors love anti-inflammatories. And so do patients. It's not all the doctor's fault. Patients love anti-inflammatories too. You know, the inflammatory system is a defensive system. It's not necessarily a great idea to suppress your defensive system. That's the problem with anti-inflammatory drugs, even something as seemingly benign as aspirin or Motrin. You're suppressing one of the body's primary defensive strategies, which is inflammation. Prednisone is a powerful anti-inflammatory. Motrin can't touch prednisone as an anti-inflammatory. But all the crappy, age-inducing, fat-depositing, wrinkle-promoting effects of long-term cortisol secretion also apply to prednisone. Excuse me. And when your immune system is suppressed for a long period of time, guess what? You're more likely to get an autoimmune disease. When your immune system is suppressed, not only is the immune system suppressed, but the brakes on the immune system has brakes on it, just like your car has brakes. The immune system has brakes on it to keep it from going crazy. Well, when we suppress the immune system, the braking system is also suppressed. So suppressing the immune system can actually result in weird autoimmune problems via this suppression of the braking system. This is why you don't want to be messing around with drugs. You can't control everything. God controls it. The divine force controls it. The body controls it. But when you try to control one aspect of the body or one aspect of the biochemistry with a drug, there's something else that's going to get messed up. That's the fundamental problem with the pharmacomedical model. You can't target a specific system. You cannot target a specific system. You will always get other effects, i.e. side effects. That's what a side effect is. It's just the result of not being able to target specific systems. They're a little better at it now than they used to be, but they still can't do it because there's too many specific systems. The web is too intricate. You cannot just target one aspect of a web without affecting the whole thing. It's not possible. And this is the major issue with something as huge as prednisone. Prednisone isn't just like putting a little pinprick on in the web. It's not like throwing a pebble at the web. It's like putting a boulder in the web. You get all kinds of side problems, and that's why in pharmacy school they tell you, one of the first things you learn in pharmacy school is nobody should ever stay on prednisone long term. Yet we know that there are lots of people on prednisone long term. If you are taking prednisone, you might want to consider a DHEA supplement, a daily DHEA supplement. It will balance out some of the untoward effects of the prednisone. Cortisol's primary role, by the way, is on the immune system. That's its main role. I hate to say its main role because there's so many things it does, but it's certainly one of its main roles. When cortisol goes up,